Job's suffering. Equipped with unlimited power, Satan endeavored to deprive Job of all he owned. He burnt part of his cattle, and the other part was carried off by enemies. What pained Job more than this was that recipients of his bounty turned against him and took of his belongings. Among the adversaries that assailed him was Lilith, the queen of Sheba. She lived at a great distance from his residence. It took her and her army 3 years to travel from her home to his. She fell upon his oxen and his asses and took possession of them, after slaying the men to whose care Job had entrusted them. One man escaped alone. Wounded and bruised, he had only enough life in him to tell Job the tale of his losses, and then he fell down dead. The sheep, which had been left unmolested by the queen of Sheba, were taken away by the Chaldeans. Job's first intention was to go to war against these marauders. But when he was told that some of his property had been consumed by fire from heaven, he desisted and said, "If the heavens turn against me, I can do nothing." Dissatisfied with the result, Satan disguised himself as the king of Persia, besieged the city of Job's residence, took it, and spoke to the inhabitants, saying, "This man Job hath appropriated all the goods in the world, leaving naught for others, and he hath also torn down the temple of our God. And now I will pay him back for his wicked deeds. Come with me and let us pillage his house." At first the people refused to hearken to the words of Satan. They feared that the sons and daughters of Job might rise up against them later and avenge their father's wrongs. But after Satan had pulled down the house wherein the children of Job were assembled, and they lay dead in the ruins, the people did as he bade them and sacked the house of Job. Seeing that neither the loss of all he had nor the death of his children could change his pious heart, Satan appeared before Elohim a second time and requested that Job himself, his very person, be put into his hand. Elohim granted Satan's plea, but he limited his power to Job's body. His soul he could not touch. In a sense, Satan was worse off than Job. He was in the position of the slave that had been ordered by his master to break the pitcher and not spill the wine. Satan now caused a terrific storm to burst over the house of Job. He was cast from his throne by the reverberations, and he lay upon the floor for 3 hours. Then Satan smote his body with leprosy from the sole of his foot unto his crown. This plague forced Job to leave the city and sit down outside upon an ash-heap, for his lower limbs were covered with oozing boils, and the issue flowed out upon the ashes. The upper part of his body was encrusted with dry boils, and to ease the itching they caused him, he used his nails until they dropped off together with his fingertips, and he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal. His body swarmed with vermin, but if one of the little creatures attempted to crawl away from him, he forced it back, saying, "Remain on the place whither thou wast sent, until Elohim assigns another unto thee." His wife, fearful that he would not bear his horrible suffering with steadfastness, advised him to pray to Elohim for death, that he might be sure of going hence an upright man. But he rejected her counsel, saying, "If in the days of good fortune, which usually tempts men to deny Elohim, I stood firm and did not rebel against him, Surely I shall be able to remain steadfast under misfortune, which compels men to be obedient to Elohim. And Job stuck to his resolve in spite of all suffering, while his wife was not strong enough to bear her faith with resignation to the will of Elohim. Her lot was bitter indeed, for she had had to take service as a water carrier with a common churl, and when her master learned that she shared her bread with Job, he dismissed her. To keep her husband from starving, she cut off her hair and purchased bread with it. It was all she had to pay the price charged by the bread merchant, none other than Satan himself, who wanted to put her to the test. He said to her, "Hast thou not deserved this great misery of thine? It had not come upon thee." This speech was more than the poor woman could bear. Then it was that she came to her husband, and amid tears and groans urged him to renounce Elohim and die. Job, however, was not perturbed by her words, because he divined at once that Satan stood behind his wife and seduced her to speak thus. Turning to the tempter, he said, "Why dost thou not meet me frankly? Give up thy underhand ways, thou wretch." Thereupon Satan appeared before Job, admitted that he had been vanquished, and went away abashed.